account recording in progress.
Oh,
So, okay.
hello.
So maybe that'll do it. So, okay. Maybe. See, there you have a little recording thing.
There it
But,
is.
okay, so I'll let you guys might only have 40 minutes. So nice to see you, Chuck. Yeah, great background.
Welcome to the space station.
Yeah.
2.5 million miles into outer space.
Oh, yeah.
So let's kind of pick up from where we were the last time. And
Okay.
you had just done the last music video, Eurostar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the last time, wasn't it? Yeah. Put that on YouTube and Facebook and getting some good responses, and it was a fun project.
Yeah. So how did that come about? How did that come into existence?
Well, we took a little summer vacation, and at one point we were in London, and I picked up a little mini guitar, that one there. And where we were staying, I started playing getting through the chord changes. I had no idea. I didn't have any lyrics, any melody, just some basic chords. And then things just went along, but then came back home, where I have my setup here, and started putting the rest of it together. And that's how a lot of these things start. They just start with some basic element, a bass line or a chord changes or something like that. And usually the lyrics are come up with those later to see what the song is doing, and starting to put the parts in and hearing it, and then putting on guitar leads and piano parts and organ parts and drums, all that. So it just kind of just a work in progress that makes itself.
And it's, am I wrong? Eurostar is this train that you got on in London?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that's, if going further back, yeah, we rode the Eurostar line from Belgium to London. And it's fast. It's like, as the video says, 300 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
Yeah, so you just go a 6/10 of that, and you have the speed. So a little more than half of that in speed, and in miles per hour. And yeah, it's dark under there, and but they have lights in the train, of course, and it lasts a couple hours. I think you're going about 30 kilometers or so across, and yeah. And so the video kind of puts a sense of that environment in it, with the darkness around it and a little bit of light spilling. So yeah, I didn't have that name for the song initially. It was later, after we got back home, and the original song, bass wise, came from the bass line that's in there. There's like a bass solo in there, so it's kind of off that line and off the chords, and those two parts, one was the chorus part, one was the verse part, and I put the two together, and they seem to work pretty well together.
I think it's a great sounding piece of music. I have to say thanks very much for allowing me to have a copy of it and put it on the broadcast.
Sure. And I have another one that I just released last night, actually, on YouTube and Facebook. It's called What Will Become, and that one's different. It has vocals in it, and it's a little bit different. And I have a guest narrator that popped in, so that one turned out pretty well.
That's cool.
Go ahead.
Well, so for people who don't know who you are, did you actually grow up in the Corning area?
Yeah. Until I was born, and then lived on Corning's north side for, I think they tell me, a year and a half. And then my family moved out to East Corning. And I was there till I was about 19, and then moved back into Corning, into the north side again, kind of a full circle there. And yeah, was there until 1978, and then moved away to Boston for 6 years. And I went to Berkeley Music College for 4 years, and also worked in theaters did stagehand work, So I was either performing or watching or helping with sound and lighting for other performers. So it's all kind of tied together.
And what was the Dakota era? This is sort of, for people who don't know Ray, like one of the things in the Corning area during the 70s, we really sort of had a gifted community, and that there was a lot of real, the whole music scene from the 60s was still active, and it just sort of carried over, and everybody in the Corning area was really into making music. And was there a band before Dakota? And then tell me about Dakota too.
There was a band before Dakota. I was in the 8th grade. I was 14, and we had it's called the Organized Confusion. And we were together not that long, so around 1968 to about 1970, and then there were other groups playing around town, and there was Marmalade Mirage. That was around the time of the Organized Confusion, the OC as we called it, and then there was Citadel, and Dakota was made up of a couple other members from Citadel. So you would have these bands that would play for a while, and then they would kind of split up and then join other groups, splinter off into maybe other types of music, just make it interesting.
How did Dakota get formed then? How did you meet all the guys in the band?
Oh, well, it originally started out, there was a jam that I did with Jeff Randall and Steve Pio in East Corning, and we were still in our other bands. I was in the OC, they were in Citadel, and just as an offshoot, once in a while we'd get together at someone's house, basement or a front yard or a garage or something, and just play things that we weren't playing in the other groups, usually cover songs. Even a few originals started to pop up. So we did that for a little while, and then it got to be, well, we kind of like this better. So we all the three of us left the bands we were in, and then we added Paul Wilson was added in along the way, and we had a 4-piece Dakota with just 2 guitars, bass, and drums. And then later on in 1972, Chip Halstead was added, and he was going to college, but he was done doing that and came back to Corning, and our first job was about a week before the flood of 72 on Market Street. And
wow,
we were playing on Market Street. And that's Chip's first job with us. And yeah, and then we were together till 74. Maybe the fall of 74, as far as that goes. And then we kind of went different ways.
I remember seeing the big Dakota truck parked at Paul's place.
Yeah, that truck got parked in many places, and so people didn't want to look at it anymore. Then we would move it to different neighborhoods, East Corning and in Corning and wherever. And we had a rehearsal area that we rented, and sometimes it would be there. So,
well, you guys were pretty amazing. And part of what I think the audience ought to know is there was a reunion concert in 2013. Dakota was kind of the headliner of that. It was really a high school reunion for everybody in your class, and you guys came together to put on the concert locally. And I was fortunate enough, I asked you guys if it would be okay to record it. That turned out, I think, pretty well in an interesting kind of way, because it started in is it Ray Millard's basement?
Tom Millard's.
And then we ended up, and then ended up with live. And I just, on a lark, I just submitted it to the Global Music Awards and it won a bronze medal. So that was kind of cool. So after Dakota, you went to Boston to Berkeley.
Well, actually, after Dakota in '74, I joined up. There was another group, another offshoot kind of thing, with Jimmy Costy and Chip Halstead from Dakota and Tom Dowd, who was playing. I have to remember who he was playing with, but some other people. And we got together, and we were together for a couple of years. And then I ended up doing sound at the In Congress concert at Corning Community College. And we mixed that, and that became an album. And I really liked that kind of acoustic edge or non-edge that they were doing, and all the original work. Some great songs they came up with. It's kind of just this big collaborative effort. And I got to go to the rehearsals and listen in and take notes, because I had to mix the thing. And after that, I joined up with Steve Pio and Kevin Rowe and Amy Lipton, who was on flute, and Jamie Cadden, rest in peace, and Gary Wilson. And we put together the Shorty Kiner Review, kind of a takeoff on Bob Kinner's name, but because a lot of us would hang out at Wet Goods, and there's a lot of music going through that place. And so we got together and we played our first job at the Fox Theater. It had been just renovated, and we played there. And I used to go there to see the original, like, Hard Day's Night and Help Beatles movies, and in there. So we ended up playing there, and that went well. And then after that, after the Shorty Kiner Review, I played with Small Factory, which was the Manfredi brothers in Elmira. And it was just a trio, like a bar trio. And I played for maybe 4 months with them. And that was before I went away to Berkeley. So that's kind of the rundown, up to that point.
Was there encouragement to keep going? Did mom and dad support you? Or was it just you just kept going because you were enjoying yourself?
Well, they weren't, vocally against it. I think, I don't know, maybe they were appreciating me being busy and excited about something and all that. I don't know. There wasn't a big push from them to do it or not do it. He's kind of let me roll.
And
so,
and then at Berkeley, big events at Berkeley.
Yeah. Well, I went there as a audio recording major, because they opened that program a year after I was in. Before that, I was going to do composition. Then they opened it up to all these different majors, and film scoring, all sorts of stuff, electronic music. And so they had an audio recording major. So I was already kind of had an idea about that, but wanted to kind of keep that going. Then electric bass was my instrument there. And I joined a band called Unction. It was made up of all Berkeley students. It was a rock band, but it was like a punk new wave rock jazz band. I mean, we had all sorts of elements mixed into the songs. We had about 60 originals. And we were together a couple of years, and we played at the Berkeley Performance Center twice. Because they would put on student shows, and we were students, so we got to play on that nice stage. And plus some of us were on the stage crew there, and I was the head stage crew guy and did mainly lighting setups. You know, we had pro shows on the weekend, and we had school shows during the week, so we were there a lot. And then we would, rehearse there sometimes.
Did you get exposure to like any of the FM that was going on in the area?
Yeah, in Boston, yeah. There's WMFO, which was out of Tufts University. We actually did a live show there. We hauled our gear up these stairs and played for, I don't know, an hour or so. And then a couple other stations around Boston that occasionally. What's that?
Was it BZ or BCN out of Providence, or
Maybe
AAF out of Worcester?
No. Thinking it was a Boston College, University of Boston station or something. WGBH? I don't know if it was them. I don't know who. I don't remember which station it was. It's a long time ago.
That's okay. And then, and so when you were you part of the Magnetics at that point? Were you keeping in touch with those guys?
No, I was in 1984. I came to Corning, and while I was there, I got a phone call from Jim Barbaro, and I was kind of done with Unction. I wasn't in any bands. I was just like doing the stagehand work, and I had a small sound company in Boston that I was doing sound. I did sound for Till Tuesday with Amy Mann was in, and some other groups around Boston. And so I wasn't playing. And Jim called me, and they were looking for a bass player or singer, bass player, one or the other. And we got together in 84, rehearsed a bit in Ithaca. And then I think our first job we played was in Ithaca, and we played in Wet Goods. And then we moved to, we wanted to move to the Central Coast on the East Coast, around DC. And so we actually ended up in Maryland. We were in Annapolis, Maryland for about 5 years, playing full time up and down the coast, down to Key West and Delray Beach. And so we would go down to Florida about 3 times a year and spend a few weeks down there playing. And it was a lot of playing.
But there's this, one of the things in studying how to become really good, the Beatles, there's this saying about the Beatles that they had 10,000 hours because they'd go from Liverpool over to Berlin, and they were just so seasoned. And of course, I'm sure I can remember that night, turn on the Ed Sullivan Show. I wanted to watch a different TV show. My 2 brothers are like, no, we're watching the Beatles. And, they just walked out on stage, and it was just like they were so rehearsed, and that it's that there's a threshold. I would now say you have to up that to about 50,000 hours to be really, really, really good. But that's just my opinion. What you just finished recording a new YouTube video?
Yeah. It's called What Will Become. And that's the one I was starting in London, and then came down to Portugal and did the recording. The recording didn't take all that long. It usually takes me about, 7 to 10 days to do one. Eurostar was a little easier in that respect because there was no vocals on it. So it was all, drums, bass, guitar, and one keyboard, so there's not a lot of layers on that one. What Will Become has a lot of layers. But it's only one vocal. There's no harmony on it. But it has, keyboard layers, organ, piano soloing, guitar soloing. There's about 5 guitar tracks on there, doing different things. I even used the little guy here on that song.
And is that you plug that into an amp, right?
No, I have no amplifiers. I have no drum sets. I have no keyboards. It's all done. I do it all in the computer, except I do play the guitar. The guitar goes into an effects box just to give me the warmth, of like a tube amplifier.
Right.
And then from there, it just goes into the recording. So it sounds kind of raw when I'm playing it. And then I put about 6 or 8 effects on it. So there's.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there any of the old analog technology that you miss?
Well, yeah. Well, you kind of have to adapt what you learned in the analog world to the digital world, and there's crossover things. There's delays and reverbs and equalizers. It's still laid out the same. An equalizer looks the same. It's just on your screen.
Right.
And so I make all the adjustments there, and every instrument's done individually. I do the drum part, and I do keyboard parts, and every note is placed into it and adjusted for dynamics, and then effects are put on it, and then with that on there, then I can okay, I'll put on the bass part and I'll put that on, then I'll put on some rhythm guitar parts. Okay, there's that. Okay, now what can I do for, guitar melodies and leads and things like that? And so it builds itself while it's in motion.
The sound quality has definitely gone up. I mean, just think of how we used to struggle with, where's that hum coming from?
Oh, yeah, the digital world, and yeah, it's quiet. You don't have some of those issues that you used to have to record really bright. Add some high end to it. Some treble and some upper range, because later on when you're recording and you're maybe bouncing tracks, like you're combining 5 tracks into one, and then mixing down, there's noise that gets induced, so a lot of that. I mean, most of my songs are like 25 plus tracks, and there's no tape hiss because there's no tape.
Do you record in 3? Surround sound is part of today's world with the computer. Do you have 5.1 surround? Do you have 7.1 surround that you record to, so that you can place your drum set here, and here, and you can place the bass here and here? And
I have a pair of Sony headphones.
So you mix.
That's what I use.
So whatever sounds good in the headphones, you're good to go.
That's where it all kind of starts, and do the mixing. I do pan things, guitars, in different places, and listen to voices. I'll pan voices around, so they're just, like if you're standing there watching people sing and they're standing apart from each other a little bit, to give that kind of spatial feel to it. Drums moving around the set, So I do that all. I can pan any track to any location. So it's mainly just left, right, center, and varying degrees of all that. And I hear that in the headphones, and that works pretty well. And then I do try the songs on different speakers. I mean, I take it into the car and blast it in the car and see how it goes. I compare it to other things on the radio, or I'll compare it to other artists that may have a sound that I like that you could kind of cross over to, for levels and for brightness and just different aspects of it. Say, oh, well, that's too muddy, or that's too much kick drum, or just, not enough clarity in the vocals, or too much reverb. That's always a challenge, putting on a little too much. I try to back off on that where I can, but it's nice to have a little.
What took you over to Portugal?
Oh, well, it's a beautiful place. There's a lot of factors. We had a lot of boxes to check. We were actually just looking to move to a city, and thought of some other ones in the US. And now we've read an article about relocating to Portugal, and the retirement things getting close, and Portugal was really never on the map ever. But this was like top of the list on this article, and so we just started looking into it and decided to come over, and that was in 2016, and we just came over. We spent a month in Lisbon, and a couple of weeks in the southern part of the country, and the people are really, really nice, really good, really accepting for the most part. I mean, there's always, sometimes not, but the affordability, healthcare, there's just a lot of variables, cost of living things.
Is cost of living lower there?
What's that?
Is the cost of living lower there?
It can be expensive depending on what you do. I mean, you buy healthcare and all that, but it's not like it is where we used to be as far as cost goes. And the food seems to be maybe on the healthier side. They ban certain chemicals here that may be used in other places. It could be just a European thing, in general. And it's good that you can move around Europe a little bit and check out some other places. They all use the euro, so that's for money, so that makes things a little easier.
How do you feel about people contacting you? Should they go to the Dakota site on Facebook?
It depends on why. What if it's a Dakota related thing? There's the Dakota Facebook page. Things like that do happen. I don't know. I mean, there's always email, and there's always private Facebook page, which I have the YouTube account, YouTube channel there.
How would they find you on YouTube?
Oh, it's Mondo del Rey
on YouTube.
Yeah, it's Mondo, then Delray, which is kind of my name backwards. It also means World of Ray. So it just kind of works. We
That's
used to
cool.
play in Delray Beach, Florida. So they always wanted to name the band Mondo Del Rey because of playing down there. So I kind of remembered that, and I go, well, I think I'll use that for my YouTube name.
And any advice to people who listen about how they should go about becoming an expert's expert at whatever it is they're doing?
Oh, well, just get into it and start. I don't know. It depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, as far as music goes, or music recording, anything, I guess as far as anything goes, there's a lot of resources out there. Of course, there's always Google and all that. I don't know, get something you're into, follow it up, and look into it. There's just so much information out there. When I have a question about what I'm doing in my audio program, I can look that up, and that's been helpful. Or I can just click around and see what happens. There's always the undo button.
Yeah, that's an interesting feature that you didn't used to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we've only got a couple of minutes left. It's really cool getting the opportunity to do this. And I think because of, I have to say, I'm sorry. What's your wife's name?
Evan.
Because of Evan, we've actually got a really decent recording.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess let's wrap it up. I'll get the recording made and figure out some way to package it and get it to you and let you, give your thumbprint of approval. And then
Do you need do you need anything? The MP3 of something?
I have all of the editing equipment at this end so that I can buff it out one way or another as needed. The nice thing, did she turn on the recording at your end also?
Yeah, I got the red light.
So we both got a recording. So it may be that at some point it'd be nice to if something comes through and erases everything on all my hard drives, it's nice to know there's another copy out there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. Always press save.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, when I used to do digital. So I started streaming in 1995 video on the internet, and I used to get in the coding to do that back then was really difficult. And it was constantly, you had to constantly hit Control S all the time because the systems couldn't handle it and you'd have breakdowns. Well, anyway, Yvonne and Ray and all your guitars, it's great having the opportunity to talk with you. Thanks very much.
Sure. It's been fun to kind of flash back on a few things.
Sure. Well, and you've got this new project that you're working on, right?
Music project?
Yeah.
I do have another video. I'm just kind of in final phases of which actually means looking at it and seeing what I need to tweak on it.
Sure.
So final tweaking. It's one that I did release a couple of years ago, but I totally re-recorded the song and changed things and spiffed up the video quite a bit.
So we'll look forward to that in the future, and thumbs up on all of the above.
Okay. And this is actually an old Dakota song that's been reworked. So
Cool.
Yeah. Turned out well.
Thanks, Ray. It's nice talking to you. Nice seeing you.
Okay. Same here. Take
right.
care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.